What if the fate of empires hinged not on the clash of swords, but on clandestine whispers in air-conditioned rooms? As we step into the fall of 2025, we witness a devastating unraveling for Vladimir Putin. Amid the carefully curated facade of unity at the Commonwealth of Independent States Summit in Tajikistan on October 10, he inadvertently presided over the crumbling ruins of his once mighty influence. The war in Ukraine had left a profound scar on his power. Allies were now abandoning ship. Armenia gravitated towards the European Union, while Central Asia succumbed to the economic allure of China. Within this context, the shift in allegiance from Putin to a coalition between Ankara and Washington marked a seismic shift. On September 25, just weeks prior to the summit, the world watched as Turkish President Erdogan and US President Trump filmed a seemingly innocuous photo op in the Oval Office. However, behind their smiles lay the dawning of a powerful geopolitical alliance. Analysts noted the synergy between the two leaders, signaling a revolutionary move towards pragmatic and reciprocal diplomacy. Turkey made bold strides, eyeing billions worth of long-term liquefied natural gas contracts from the US, an essential alternative to the waning Russian energy market. What seemed like a gamble transformed into a lethal blow for Putin's energy ambitions. The message rang clear: Turkey's energy pathway was shifting from Moscow to Washington, a pivot sanctioned by the US president himself. But this was merely the initial ripple in an enormous wave of change. To truly understand the audacity stemming from Ankara and its newfound allies, we must rewind to September 2023 and the smoke-laden mountains of the Caucasus. Here, Russia faced its most humiliating defeat, the mishandling of the Armenio-Azerbaijan crisis, a region it had historically dominated. When the Azerbaijani army executed a swift operation against the remaining Armenian presence in Nagorno-Karabakh, eyes should have turned to Moscow. However, with their elite forces depleted in Ukraine, the Russian army languished, passively watching a former vassal assert bold autonomy. The Russian peacekeepers, rather than intervening, acted as mere observers. In that critical moment, the dynamics of power shifted dramatically. Turkey seized the opportunity to fill the void left by Russia, providing military support that paved the way for a resounding Azerbaijani victory in mere days. This was not merely a tactical success, it signaled the end of 3 decades of Russian dominance in the region. As Armenia cooled its historical ties with Moscow, Azerbaijan eagerly embraced its burgeoning relationship with Ankara, positioning itself as a vital ally in a new Turkic coalition. Meanwhile, throughout 2025, the geopolitical landscape continued to evolve. With a stroke of a pen, Trump's administration crafted a corridor through Zengezur, linking Armenia and Azerbaijan, effectively reorienting Eurasian geopolitics and refusing to bow to Moscow's historical claims. In sum, we witness a remarkable fall from grace for Russia, a historical transformation where the vassal becomes empowered, and a new order emerges. The soul of the faltering Russian bear is counterbalanced by the unexpected ascendancy of Turkey, firmly positioned as a key player in the unfolding future of Eurasia. With this backdrop, the landscape is set for further upheaval as the ambitions of regional powers collide with Moscow's weakening grip. Will the echoes of history continue to ripple through this tumultuous journey? Air-conditioned rooms in world capitals hold no guns or bullets. Yet, they spark the twists that shatter empires. In the fall of 2025, disasters unraveled Vladimir Putin's grip. October 10 saw him at a summit in Tajikistan, posing for photos amid crumbling alliances from Ukraine's war. Leaders fled Moscow's sinking ship. Armenia leaned toward the European Union, Central Asia bowed to China's economic might. Allies abandoned him, with Ankara and Washington forging a bold new pact that dismantled Putin's Central Asia dominance. Weeks earlier, on September 25, 2025, White House footage revealed Trump's partnership with Erdogan, hinting at a shift beyond personal bonds. This pragmatic alliance promised Turkey billions in liquefied natural gas from the US, ditching Russian sources. Can you feel the chill in those glossy halls? Smell the faint ozone of power deals? Putin's empire cracked here, humiliated in its heart. Trump's words echoed, tremendous ties in war and trade. Today, we're both. I'd like him to stop buying oil from Russia. But deeper truths lurked. To grasp Ankara's bravery, rewind to September 2023's smoke-choked Caucasus peaks. Russia's backyard crisis exposed their defeat there, a fiercer blow than Ukraine. The Russian bear, humbled in its den by Eurasia's new wolf. September 19, 2023, Azerbaijan's army struck last Armenian forces in Nagorno-Karabakh. Eyes fixed on Moscow, the peacekeeping force with thousands of troops, Armenia's ally, should have acted. But war in Ukraine drained their elite units, logistics crumbled. Russians watched passively for 24 hours. Like moviegoers witnessing Azerbaijan's triumph. Their force logged tank rolls neutrally, observers in a storm. Rules flipped. Turkey seized the void instantly. Bayraktar TB2 drones, advisors, diplomatic aid to Azerbaijan clinched victory in days. No military win, only end of 30 years Russian rule in Caucasus. Ankara reshaped the map with steel resolve. Armenia, betrayed, turned west. Azerbaijan, freed, orbited Turkey's Turkic world. Russia lost its game-changer role. Then, fall 2025, Trump's signature redrew Eurasia. The Zangezur Corridor mediated peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan, unlocked decade-sealed paths, sparking a power quake. It linked Turkey seamlessly to Azerbaijan and Central Asian Turks, crowning Ankara Eurasia's new arbiter, while freeing China's Belt and Road from Russian-Iranian chains. Did the ground tremble under Putin's boots? Hear the whir of engines slicing old borders? His hegemony in Caucasus gone, Ukraine defeat encircled him, severing Iran ties. This steel asphalt monument heralded a new order: Ankara, Washington, Beijing rising on Moscow-Tehran's ashes. October 2025 peaked humiliation for a superpower leader. Crisis after a Russian helicopter down accidentally, Azerbaijan invasion stirred. Putin begged Ilham Aliyev publicly for pardon over a soldier's death. Feel the sting? Taste the ash of surrendered power. Kremlin Tsar pleaded his once vassal, Moscow now powerless to dictate, merely facing fallout. Ankara energy bluff dared because who fears a weakened, backyard controller? Caucasus jolt rippled an empire-shaking quake. Aftershocks sparking Central Asian drift from Moscow's wreck. Ex-Soviet Turks sought safer havens, seeing Russia's ally failings. Putin empire shrank rapidly, allies deserting. Domino from Caucasus ignited silent revolution across former Russian lands, Ankara steering boldly with White House nods. Turkic states organization, once symbolic, Moscow shadowed, became dynamic gravitational center. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan pivoted to Ankara West for security, economy, diplomacy. Turkey offered cheap gas, Soviet arms? No, high-tech defense, industry, markets, shared identity versus Moscow oppression. Trump's doctrine let strong allies fix regional woes encouraged Turkey's rise. Atlantic Council noted, Washington viewed Ankara no-problem ally, key balancer against Russia-China in Eurasia. Challenges aligned Ankara West interests. Rise of Sultan backed by new Caesar, the Tsar's fall. Bold proof, Ankara stand-alone Ukraine war stance from start. Maintained Russia economy ties yet sold Ukraine Bayraktar TB2 war changers. Independent superpower, Turkey guarded national interests, defied Russia when needed. Ironic payoff: Putin's multipolar dream, crafted southern rival, unfearful, building own empire. Turkey, regional powers advancing boldly. Vladimir Putin, former superpower czar? Internal front collapsed, economy, army, industry obliterated, Ukraine war ignited February 24, 2022. Turkey's audacity amplified by Russia's weakness. Caucasus victory bred confidence, Turkobu power vacuum filled decisively. Baku triumph just days, a beacon Turkic ascendancy. Hegemony ended 30 years. Ankara strategy, military drones, expert council, unshakable support turned tide. Not battle alone, regional balance overhauled forever. Hegemony shattered, alliances shifted irreversibly. Moscow foothold eroded, Ankara's rise unaided. No hesitation seizing opportunity. Vacuum widened, Moscow failure intervene. Russian forces exhausted, Ukraine elite losses, supply breakdown. Advanced Nagorno-Karabakh accepted idly, quiet like observers documenting event, not guardians' peace. Rules rewritten moment that. Power vacuum created, Russia without moment hesitated. Bayraktar TB2 UAVs, military advisors, absolute diplomatic support provided Ankara Azerbaijan brought Baku decisive victory just few days. This not just military victory. In 30 years Russian hegemony Caucasus. The narrative continues with a powerful twist in the saga of international politics, where the balance of power shifts dramatically. The embarrassment faced by Vladimir Putin during the Azerbaijan operation left him exposed and vulnerable, underlining Russia's diminishing authority. Instead of intervening vigorously, the Russian peacekeeping forces observed the rapid advance of Azerbaijani troops as if it were an ordinary spectacle. Their inaction revealed a profound failure, Moscow's inability to maintain its once ironclad grip on the region. In a shocking display, following a dire accident involving the downing of a Russian helicopter, Putin found himself in a humiliating position. He stood before the world, addressing Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev with an almost apologetic tone, begging for forgiveness over the loss of a soldier. What was once an image of a commander in control transformed into that of a leader grasping at the remnants of a bygone era. As this scene unfolded, the geostrategic landscape was irrevocably altered. Turkey seized the moment, stepping into the void left by a reluctant Russia. Ankara's support, military intelligence, consultation, and drone technology like the Bayraktar TB2 ushered Azerbaijan to a swift and decisive victory. This triumph marked the end of 3 decades of Russian dominance in the Caucasus. Betrayed by Moscow, Armenia began shifting its allegiances towards the west, seeking stability rather than continued dependence. As Azerbaijan emerged invigorated, shedding its former ties to Russia, it aligned itself closely with Turkey, symbolizing the dawn of a revitalized Turkic alliance across Eurasia. The implications were staggering. Moscow was losing its status as the game-changer in this arena. In 2025, a monumental signature in the White House heralded the redrawing of the Eurasian geopolitical map. The expansion of the so-called Trump Corridor, stretching through Zengezur, not only facilitated peace but also opened previously locked pathways, establishing Turkey as a significant influencer. This corridor transformed not just regional transport but also symbolized a new geopolitical order, one where Ankara and Washington emerged central, while Moscow found itself increasingly isolated. As tensions escalated, one must wonder, what events did this new landscape hold for the future of international relations? Stay tuned for the next chapter as this game of power, betrayal, and shifting alliances continues. In the unfolding saga of 2025, the world witnessed a seismic shift in power dynamics, ignited not by the clash of weapons, but by the whisper of alliances and the audacity of nations. The fall of that year cast a long shadow over Vladimir Putin, revealing his crumbling influence as leaders once loyal began to flee the sinking ship of the Kremlin. October 10 marked a pivotal moment during the Commonwealth of Independent States Summit in Tajikistan. As Putin posed for unity photos, he was surrounded not by allies, but by the echoes of his lost empire. The war in Ukraine had siphoned his power, leaving Armenia and Central Asian nations gravitating towards new partnerships, notably with China and Turkey. And in a striking maneuver that sent shockwaves through Moscow, the bond strengthening between Ankara and Washington was becoming unbreakable. On September 25, something extraordinary occurred in the Oval Office. Turkish President Erdogan and then U.S. President Donald Trump stood side by side, and the chemistry sparkled, hinting at a partnership that was more transactional than personal. Turkey's pursuit of long-term liquefied natural gas contracts from America was a clear signal it was ready to cut ties with Russian energy. This was no idle bluff, it was an act that drove the final nail into Putin's energy-driven dominance. But the roots of this bold strategy lay deeper. Just a year prior, in the smoke-filled mountains of the Caucasus, the Russian bear faced a historic defeat. The Azerbaijan army's swift operation against Armenia in September 2023 marked a turning point, not just for regional power, but for Putin himself. The Russian peacekeeping forces, expected to intervene, were rendered impotent, watching as Azerbaijan swiftly claimed victory with Turkish support. This was not merely a military strike, it represented the end of a 3-decade reign of Russian dominance. The vacuum left by a fracturing Moscow quickly allowed Turkey to ascend as a formidable player, offering military and diplomatic backing to Azerbaijan that rapidly altered the region's landscape. Suddenly, Armenia, feeling betrayed by its once stalwart ally, began to look westward, while Azerbaijan embraced its new alliances, emerging as a potent force in the Turkic world under Turkish leadership. Then came the defining moment of October 2025. In the aftermath of a Russian helicopter being shot down, Putin appeared before the cameras, a figure of diminishment and defeat, as he sought forgiveness from Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, his former vassal. The world watched as Putin's power evaporated before their eyes, signaling that Russia's ability to manipulate events had faded into insignificance. What transpired in the Caucasus sent shockwaves across Eurasia. Former Soviet republics began to reassess their ties to Moscow, recognizing the crumbling giant could no longer offer the security or support they once depended on. The cascading effects of this shift were deep, as countries like Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan turned toward Ankara and the West for partnerships and assistance. Turkey, once seen as a regional player, now emerged as the linchpin of a new world order. With the implicit backing of Washington, the Organization of Turkic States transformed from a mere token entity into a dynamic coalition. Ankara offered not just resources but also a shared identity and modern technology that stood in stark contrast to Russia's fading influence. Thus began a profound revolution across the vast lands Putin had dominated for decades, ricocheting through the very fabric of international relations. The extraordinary rise of Turkey in the geopolitical arena was palpable, a monumental shift underscored by the undeniable collapse of Russian authority. The assertive moves by Turkey in this shifting landscape marked the dawning of a new era, one characterized by the fall of a former empire and the rise of new order, where ancient rivals became allies and influence was redefined. The question remains, how will this dramatic shift echo throughout history? As nations like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan pivoted toward Ankara and the West for protection and partnerships, casting aside Moscow's fading grip, a new era dawned in the steppes where old shadows yielded to brighter horizons. Imagine the crisp autumn wind whispering through ancient bazaars in Tashkent, the scent of spiced lamb and fresh bread mingling with the hum of modern factories rising on the horizon. Could one man's vision truly unravel an empire's hold, leaving allies to seek warmer alliances elsewhere? That's the shocking twist shaking Eurasia today. These Central Asian powerhouses now seek safeguards, trade deals, and diplomatic bridges not from the Kremlin's chill embrace, but from Turkey's vibrant outreach. Picture the dusty markets of Bishkek, where traders once bartered Soviet relics under gray skies. Now, they eye sleek tech gadgets in bustling ports, far beyond Russia's grasp. Turkey doesn't peddle outdated promises or bargain basement fuel. No. It delivers cutting-edge tools for defense industries, fresh markets bursting with opportunity, and above all, a deep-rooted bond of culture and politics. It's a shared heartbeat against the weight of Moscow's old dominance, evoking the warm glow of family gatherings around samovar tea, stories of shared roots flowing like the Aral Sea's lost waters. Rhetorical thunder, why cling to a fading giant when a nimble ally offers wings to soar? And here's the game-changer, the Trump team's bold creed. Let capable neighbors handle their own storms. It fueled Turkey's ascent like dry tinder to flame. As voices from the Atlantic Council echoed in think tank halls, thick with the aroma of strong coffee and leather-bound reports, Washington no longer views Ankara as a thorny partner. Instead, it's the master strategist, tilting the scales against Russia's and China's vast reaches in Eurasia. Turkey's strides across the steppes? They're not solo ventures anymore. They're woven into Washington's grand design, a silent pact sealed in strategy sessions, the clink of glasses toasting quiet victories. This is the Tsar's twilight, the Sultan's dawn, under a new Caesar's watchful eye. Feel the Earth's subtle shift, like tectonic plates grinding beneath the Bosphorus, releasing long-buried energies. Flashback to those early war days in 2022. The acrid smoke of distant conflicts lingering in Ankara's war rooms, maps spread under harsh fluorescent lights, advisors' voices urgent like rustling leaves in a gale. President Erdogan paced, the weight of decisions heavy on his shoulders, balancing ties with Moscow while extending a hand to Kiev. Sensory rush, the metallic tang of fresh printed accords, the soft creak of chairs as deals were inked. From the conflict's outset on February 24, 2022, Turkey walked a tightrope. Economic lifelines to Russia hummed on one side, unyielding. Yet, it swiftly shared vital Bayraktar TB2 drones with Ukraine, those game-altering eyes in the sky that reshaped battle lines. Transcribed for clarity, Bayraktar TB2. Turkey stands tall now, a fresh force in the region. It guards its core pursuits, charts its own path, and boldly counters any threat to its vision. No hesitation, just the steady drumbeat of sovereignty. Irony's bitter sting, Putin's dream of scattered global poles? He forged one right on his flank, fearless, empire-building, with his every misstep. Like a chess master toppling his own king in haste. So, as Turkey and Kin carved daring paths through the sands, what of Vladimir Putin? The once mighty Russia's helm? Picture the Kremlin corridors, echoing with hurried footsteps, the stale air thick with worry. The truth cuts deep. Inside Russia, the economy buckled, the forces strained, industries fractured. All from that fateful launch on February 24, 2022, a war that bled the bear dry. Yet, Turkey's surge? It's no accident, it's the echo of a collapsing colossus, and what rises next will redefine the map. But how far will this unraveling spread, before the old guard strikes back? In the previous segment, we witnessed the crumbling influence of Vladimir Putin and Russia, as the internal struggles of the once mighty nation were laid bare. As allies shifted their loyalties and the geopolitical landscape transformed dramatically, a new power began to rise. Turkey, emboldened by a supportive alliance with the United States, emerged as a formidable force, ready to reclaim its standing in the region. As shadows cast by a past empire fade, the once mighty Russian bear finds itself gravely wounded. The war initiated on February 24, 2022, inflicted severe damage, destabilizing the nation to its core. Meanwhile, the ancient wolf of Eurasia, Turkey, is recalibrating the rules in this deserted hunting ground, aligning itself with the new alpha in Washington, D.C. This isn't merely a shift in influence, it's a radical redefinition of power dynamics, marking the collapse of an age-old order that spans centuries. History grants no mercy to weakness or instability. The vast void left by Russia is quickly being occupied by vigorous forces, eager to fill the gap. The era of the Tsar is over, and a new game is set to begin. What lies ahead for the world stage as alliances shift and tensions rise? As the curtain falls on a bygone era, who will claim the throne of power in this new geopolitical landscape? The winds of change are fierce, and the outcome remains uncertain, yet the thrill of watching history unfold is undeniable. This is the moment of reckoning where the past collides with an unpredictable future.